All right. Welcome to Lighthouse Church of Restoration. We're about to close out our year of restorations. We ask that you would bless according to your will. Thank you all for coming and being with us tonight. But for one thing, I want to say this to all us. Genesis chapter number 15. Genesis chapter number 15. And verse number 7 is going to be our highlighted verse. Genesis chapter number 15, verse number 7 is our highlighted verse. And it simply says this. And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldees to give thee this land to inherit it. To give you what? This land. To do what with it? The land is 2024. God is giving you 2024 for an inheritance. Are y'all with me? Walk with me, if you will. I'm almost done. It's not going to be a hot message tonight. It's going to be just a decent message. 1862, December 31st. What year? December what? 1862. Do you know how many of us is here right now? It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 18? Do you know we'd have been outlaws in December 31st, 1862? You would have been an outlaw. Do you know why? It's because according to the law in Georgia, black people could not meet more than 7 people for a religious organization. Did y'all know that? I didn't either until today. As I attempted to read and try to prepare a message for us today, do you know we are blessed? My mind is blowed, and this has been the date of 1862. Is December 31st, 1862, was the year that black people gathered in secrecy to hear if what Abraham Lincoln had said was going to happen will be placed in effect. They were waiting on January 1, 1863 to know if the emancipation what? Was in effect. That what? People would be free. Of black people. Former slaves could be free. Fast forward with me, December 31st, 2023, and black people are still in slavery. Some of you looking at me crazy. I ain't no slave. No, you're not. But a great number of your children and children's children are slaves to economic slavery. Do you all realize that a person of color interest rate will be higher than a person of non-color? Do you realize what do we spend our money on most of the times? TVs, cars, and watch this. We don't even go buy a car that's really worth anything, but we'll spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a hoopty that you can't even get the value back out of it. how much money is placed into rims? Too much money is being placed. Why don't we put our money back in us? Think about it. If the money that we spend on stuff, we would put into a bank that we could loan to ourselves, what would we be? Am I making sense? 2024, we need to reinvest in ourselves. So here we are. Genesis chapter number 15, verse number 1 says this. After these things, the word of the Lord came unto who? Abram. In what? How many of y'all will say you had a vision? I'm serious. How many of you would be willing, brave enough, or bad enough to tell people God spoke to you? Okay, I got 3. Maybe 4. That would say, would actually be bold enough to say, God told me. Why, Bishop? Why would you say that? It's because we so afraid, what if God didn't say it? It's not so much that we're afraid that God spoke to us, but we're scared to tell somebody that God spoke to us. Think about it. The number one thing that you're afraid of is to tell somebody God said something and you're scared it won't come true. But he is supposed to be your God, and he's supposed to talk to you. And so you should understand, if nobody else understands it, that God is real, and he's still talking to people. Can I get about 4 or 5 people that will really say that God is still talking? May I go out on the limb on Stream TV and tell you God talked to people through the weather sometime? Can I tell you that God is still performing miracles, because there's people that's supposed to have cancer and they don't have it no more? It's still God is performing miracles, because you didn't know how you were going to get Bobo off of drugs, and all of a sudden he off drugs. Can I break it down and go even further? It's some people that are afraid to say, God got my child off prescription medication. Jamaria, when you become a pharmacist, you're going to run into this a lot, so you're going to have anointed hands, so that when you're touching medications, you will be able to make sure that the people that it's provided for are actually the ones. You ain't going to go out there and distribute it, but you just going to say, Lord, when I set this aside for Sister Hay going to get it. Are y'all with me? Some of y'all looking at me strange, saying, what in the world are you talking about? He says, and after these, what things happened? After Abram had an encounter with who? God, when they took who? Lot in chapter number 14, because Lot was taken captive. Watch this. If God is the God that he promised us he would be, when your children's children, and when your friends and when your neighbors are in your community, you must be the Abram of your community. What are you talking about, Bishop? You giving us a New Year's Eve message, and you talking about Abram. Abram been gone for a while now. You got to be Abram. I need y'all to hear me, because you need to be the one that people come to when they got a problem. And sometimes, watch what we say sometimes when people come to you with a problem. Sometimes, oh, Lord, here they come now. That's why we got to be what? Prayed up, so when they come, you don't have you in the way of God doing what God needs to do. Because Abram was not supposed to take Lot with him, but he followed him. Why did he follow him? Because he saw the majesty of God in Abram's life. People see God in your life. And you're afraid to let them come see the God work for them. We trying to keep God in a box. But watch what it says. It says, after these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision. Are we still having visions? Saying what? Watch the first thing that we need to know about going into 24. What? Fear. I'm going to say it again. What's the first thing we should know about going into 24 is what? Fear not. Anybody been over in 24 yet? Me either. But one thing I do know, I ain't got to worry about what's going to happen over there because he already been there and done that. Watch what he says. He says, I am what? Thy shield. How many people got a pistol? Shotgun. Pistol. All the above. But that's not my defense. Here's my defense. I am what? Thy shield. And thy what? Exceeding great reward. Can I show my age? How many of y'all remember the green stamps? I told you I'm going to show my age. Jamara looked at her mama like, what's that, mama? What is that? I don't know what that is. Can that be like points? I know she'll know that because she maybe have a MasterCard and you accumulate what? Points. That's what the green stamps was. My mama was good at that. We go to the store and they'll give us some stamps and we'll fill up the book with stamps and you get a prize. Preach, God. And I am what to you? Watch what he says. I need y'all to read with me as we say this because you need to know what he should be to you. I am thy shield and what? Thy exceeding great reward. We could shut the book right there. How can we shut the book right there? Because if he's all that to Abram, by connection with Abram, he's that to you. And so I have no fear because I know that he is with me wherever I go. Are we going somewhere? We're going over into 24. Here it is. 2 says, and Abram said, Lord God, what will thou give me? Say that with me. What will thou give me? Now, Abraham was looking for a seed for God to bless taken into the land. Notice something that he does not say, and I'm going to paraphrase till I get down to 7, because he does not say, Lot is my son. Did y'all notice that? Here it is. Y'all looking at me strange. What will you give me? I go childish. And the steward of my house is Eleazar, of Damascus. And Abraham said, behold to me, thou hast given what? No seed, and lo, one born where? In my house is my heir. 4 says, and behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying what? This shall not be thy heir. Who are you looking to be your heir? God has a reward for you. Why does God have a reward for you? He don't just have it for you. He got it for your family, for your tree line, for your Jamara, you ain't got no children yet, but your children. And those are my great children. If the Lord tarries, who's in here looking at they are not receiving their reward? Because the reward is in the children of God. Oh, y'all missed it. You got to understand that God is not doing, didn't you hear the testimonies tonight? That God is not doing this for you. He's doing it for your reward. Your reward is to be with him where? In heaven. Is that not a reward? Your reward is not here on earth. Your reward is being with him. But he gives you stuff that you can understand where? Here. Look at the neighbor and say, this is a heck of a conversation with God and Abram. And some of you saying, well, what this got to do with me? If you don't know by now, you're in trouble. 'Cause it has everything to do with you, because it's not about Abram. This is about you getting the reward that Abram is going to get. Watch this. Abram, by you, all nations going to be blessed. That's why I don't get mad at Abram. Watch this. Abram was just like you. Can I give you a few pointers that Abram was just like us? Abram and his wife decided, we're going to help you, God, because you said you're going to give us some children. And so she goes and get who? What do they name? Who? Who? Hagar. Speak up. Y'all know it. She goes and get Hagar and say, hey, I can't do nothing. She can. She'll make us a baby. Was that God's plan? Watch what we do sometimes. We do the same thing. It's not with a woman, but we say, I'm going to help you, God, because, God, you ain't moving fast enough. Are y'all with me? Oh, I ain't even y'all the title of it. Huh? The Promise Keeper. That's the title, The Promise Keeper. Watch this. Watch what God does, because, see, some of you not thinking of yourself enough. Here we are. Here we are. See, it's Lord. And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, verse 4, this shall not be thy heir, but he that shall come forth out of thy own bowels shall be thy heir. Watch what happens next. So since God told Abram, Sarah says, we still in line, God, because it's coming out of your lungs or your bowels. But she forgot she was connected to who? Abram. Y'all looking at me like I maybe should have preached this morning, huh? You're looking like you sleep on me. But here we go. Verse number 5. And he brought him forth abroad and said, look, watch this. Why? I'll talk to Brenda. She'll cowgirl. She'll listen to me. Brenda, don't look at yourself the way you think you ought to be looked at. Can I help somebody? Can I help somebody? Here we are. Watch what he tells him. Look now toward heaven. One of the best examples for Lighthouse would be the Chatfields, the Hayes. I don't think, I know, bro, Hay love Sister Hay. They ain't trying to have no more children. If he looked at her and talking about, come on, baby, let's have another child, she would say, William, is you don't lost your mind? Watch this now. Watch this now. Well, let me reverse that. I got a young couple in here, Ben and Peaches. That's the kind of chat I'm talking about. Listen what he said. He said, go outside and look toward heaven and tell the what? The stars, if they be able to number them. And he said unto him, so shall thy seed be. What are you saying to us? Preacher, what are you saying to us? Your expectation of what God can do don't even merit. Can I prove it? I got the best compliment from my granddaughter tonight. And you know what she said to me? She said, Grandpa, I'm so proud of you. Oh, I thought you always were. No, Grandpa, I'm proud of you because you got good grades in college. Okay, all right. Many of my friends' grandparents, through technology, cannot go back to school because they don't understand technology. She messed me up. She messed me up because now I'm thinking I was going to quit. And she said, ooh, Grandpa, don't quit. Stick it out, Grandpa. Are y'all following me? Watch this. How many of us are quitting on God? Am I talking to anybody? Because you say you can't do it no more. But I heard through the testimonies tonight, people say they have been renewed into thinking of how to do more for God with less. Y'all missed that part, didn't you? So, oh, you didn't have to throw that less part in there. Watch this. Do you know your foreparents built great churches with $1? Sometimes a quarter, because that's all they had. They didn't have money like we have now. And some of us are still so stingy that God has blessed us that we holding back on God. Here we go. 6 says, this me. And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for what? How did he gain righteousness? By belief. What you gonna believe? What's the title? A promise keeper. If God's gonna keep his promise to you, then don't you think you ought to keep your promise to him? We talking about 2024. We might get there, we might not. But I heard somebody say today that we're not worried about whether we wake up in the morning, because God has already been good enough to us. But what I'm trying to tell you through Abram is the fact that why won't I be righteous with God through belief so that my children can be blessed by my belief in him? Abraham, how many children Abraham got when he's talking to God in chapter number 15? Zip, zero, nana. But God tells him to go out there and look at the stars. Mr. Butler, you're a very articulate young lady. How many stars are there? Jamaria, you are a doctorate student at the famous Florida A&M Agricultural University, home of the striking rattlers. How many stars are there in the galaxies? That's a good answer, a lot. And at the time, this man has what? 0. Sister Chatfield, Minister Chatfield, how many stars are there? She said, oh, no. What you asking me for? How many more college people we got? Griffin Young is a very astute man. He probably would know this. He probably has researched it through Google. He was over there waiting for me to ask him this question. Nobody knows because there are too many. But the Bible says God knows the numbers on your hair. And so he promises James Benjamin Williams 3 that if he trusts in him, he'll make the post office look like a glimmer in his eye. And my brother, my son done been somewhere everywhere in the world. Make dad kind of jealous sometimes. I be saying, dog, you done been all over there in South America and in Europe somewhere and haven't come to 343 King Street. Am I making sense? God has promised me he going to keep him, but he keeping him away from here and bringing him back. Because, son, you don't know sometimes I'll be, Lord, please bring Ben back home. Are y'all with me? He accounted to him for righteousness. 7 says, and he said unto him, I what? Am the Lord that did what? Brought thee out of earth of the Chaldees to give thee this land to inherit it. Listen, sometimes God brings you out of something to put you in something for your inheritance. Make it relevant, Williams. God brought you out of 23 to give you 24 for your children's children's children. Somebody, I seen a bubble go over somebody's head and say, prove it. How you think you got here? I go back to December 31st, 1862. Thank you, Ms. Sheffield. And it was a bunch of people sitting around a fireplace wondering if the Emancipation Proclamation was going to be fulfilled in 1863? And the answer was an affirmative what? Yes. Are you with me? Some 100 years later, 19 what? 63, over in Birmingham, Alabama, if I'm not mistaken, some little girls got blowed up in a church because somebody said it ain't gonna be happening. Are y'all with me? A young man by the name of Dr. what? Martin Luther King marched so that you can vote, and some of you still won't even vote. How many voters we have in the house? Ooh, thank God. Thank God. Listen, even if you didn't raise your hand by the next time, please vote for the presidential election. Please vote for that. Lord, we need you. We need you. Here we go. Here we go, saints. And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall what? Inherit it. My last point, and I'm almost done. God don't really need your participation to give you an inheritance. All you got to do is what? Well, it's back up here in verse number 6. And he believed who? In. How many of you believe in the Lord? Ooh, this is kind of a simple message, isn't it? But what did I say? The message? What? A promise what? Keeper. What he said? What he said? How am I know? What about shall I know? And he said to him, take me what? An heifer of how many years? 3 years old. And a what? She-goat. Wait a minute. Let me mess somebody up, because some of you are astute learners and you need to know this. Why would God choose a goat? I don't know. What's this? I don't know. He just say what? Give me what I want. Watch this. Some of you are wondering why God choose people to use to help you get where you want to go, and you don't want to talk to them because you don't like them. And God is saying, that's the person I want to use. I think we said something. For those of you, listen, they don't believe me. God used whatever he want to use. Here we go. We got a she-goat. A ram of 3 years old. Well, why 3? Watch what somebody would say. Lord, I got one that's 4 years old. I'm not going to ask you. I'm just going to use that one. But are you going to get the promise? No, because you're what? Outside of the will of God. Here we go. Here we go. Then he said, get a turtle dove and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these things and divided them in the midst, and he laid each piece one against another, but the birds divided he not. We're going to skip down because this is something that you need. In verse number 12, he tells him that your children are going to act up. I don't care how good you've been to them, they're going to act up. But he tells us, according to Sister Chatfield, that if we train up a child the way they should go, they will not what? Depart from it. She said, get a board sometime and put on their rear end. Sometimes that's the only way we understand. Watch this. They're going to serve in the nation. They're going to do all this stuff. But let's go down to verse number 16. Chris says, you got 16 down there for me, sir? Watch what happens in 16. But in the 4th generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. What does that mean? Here it is. Here it is. For those of you that you say, I don't understand that. Here it is. Sometimes God's plans are not our plans. And God is so holy and righteous, he gives even your enemies a chance to get it right. Watch this. Because one time you were his enemy. That's why you got to be careful who you don't like. Are y'all with me? Am I making sense tonight? Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. And it came to pass. Watch this. This is the part I like, Paula. That when the sun went down, Watch the analogy. What happened? The sun went down. That's time for you to rest, isn't it? I don't know about you all, but I'm not as spry as I used to be. I used to be out at the club sometime in the midnight night. But now about as soon as the sun go down, Jamaria, Pa be in the bed. You don't did a good day's work, so it's time to go what? To sleep. It's time to rest. Watch this. When it's your time to rest, God begins to work. For those of you who can't sleep at night, here's what you need to learn how to do. Okay, God, it's your turn. Take over. Watch what happens when he goes to sleep. When the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace. Look at your neighbor and say, the smoking furnace is God. Behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. In the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, unto thy seed have I what? Given this land from the river Egypt unto the great river Euphrates. Can I change that? I know you're not supposed to change the Bible. In essence, what God is saying to you, I'm giving you 24 from January 1 to December 31. I'm going to give it to you and your seed for a possession. Who said I don't went out on a limb saying that? Well, it's your thought. But I'm coming to tell you now, God's saying he's going to give you this year for an inheritance. What you do with it is going to depend on if you get 25. I'm about done. Some of you are going to, and I want you to. Some of you at home going to do it too. I want you to. You're going to go try to find everything in here to prove me wrong. And guess what you're going to find out? If you trust God for righteousness or believe in God, you think 25 going to be something. God will give you as much time as he will. Notice I ain't give you a time frame, did I? He will give you as much time as he will to show you how much God he is. Because watch this. I can say this without out a thought in my mind. Some of you are here because of your grandchildren. Some of you are going to be around here to be inheritance for a generation 5. Listen, I understand that God may come back tomorrow. He might crack the sky and the world come to an end. But what? What if he don't? I'm going to serve him till I ain't trying to say, God, I want 20 more years. No, I'm not saying that. I just want to be obedient to him because this said, and Abraham trusted him and believed in him, and he accounted it unto Abram for righteousness. How do you get to heaven? Being righteous. If I was a young man, I think they say, and he dropped. Here it is, saints. When you believe in God and you trust in him, all things are possible. To who? Him. Watch this. For those of you at home that might be a little chauvinist, to her too. Whatever person believes God, he does not account them as male or female because we become spirit the minute we believe in God. And so we are no more him or her. We're holy and righteous in his sight. And so he could take a she-goat, a he-goat, a them-goat. Whatever he do, if he tell you to do something, what? Do it in his name because he is a promise keeper. Remember, we have a great deal to be thankful to God for. Do you all realize some of you got across the river or the ocean on a boat that some people preferred to die than to come across that ocean. But God kept your parents alive long enough to get you here. If God can do that kind of work, and some of you know your parents, I'm just glad Vivian, most of my life, Vivian was holy. I'm so glad James wasn't so holy. I'm trying to figure out how they hooked up. Y'all laughing, but I am. My daddy was a pistol. My daddy's side of the family, they were cussers and drinkers, and they used to have parties and be fighting and carrying on. And I'm trying to figure out how my daddy caught my mama. You talking about two different sides of the railroad tracks? I got to see my daddy get saved. Amen. My mama was working hard, but there was a promise. Did y'all know there was a promise to her? That whatever she was connected with was going to be what? Saved? Come on, somebody. Ben, that's why I'm so happy for you, because you connected to Peaches. I thought it was through me. It might not be through me. It might be through Jamario. Jamario you might be talking about, well, baby, see, this is what you got to do, because you got to do this and that. And Jamario said, well, Daddy, see, you got to come on back to the church and do this and do that. I don't know. All I'm assured of, Minister Butler, is the fact that I have a promise, and he is a what? Promise keeper, that my household will be saved. And Ben, your Uncle Young trying to give you some beans, but I'm trying to give both of y'all some salvation. Amen. I'm done. Are there any questions? Weird topic, wasn't it? But very applicable to going into a new year. You got to know without a certain of a doubt that God would never take you any place he can't provide for you. See y'all on Sunday. May God bless you. May heaven smile upon you is our prayer. Remember, going into 24, if thou shalt confess with thy mouth and believe in thy heart that Jesus is the Christ, there's a promise, thou shalt be saved.